I gave ChatGPT and Claude 30 minutes each to code me a Minecraft shader pack from scratch. And I don't mean downloading a random shader. Both of them wrote the actual shader files, every single line of code, and I dropped whatever they gave me straight into my game. For context, real shader packs took people years to build. These two got half an hour each, and going in, I honestly wasn't sure my game would even boot. Here's how the whole thing went down. Claude was up first. The prompt I gave it basically said, build me a complete shader pack. Realistic lighting, proper shadows, good water, the whole package. ChatGPT got the exact same prompt later, word for word, so the comparison stays fair. One thing I noticed right away is that Claude tells you roughly how much time it needs, which I ended up appreciating way more than I expected. So while it was writing code, I just waited. And once the first version was done, I dropped the files into my shader packs folder and booted it up. My first reaction was mostly relief that the game loaded at all, but the more I flew around, the more this thing surprised me. The biggest surprise was the vegetation. Claude added waving leaves and grass on its very first attempt, and not some random wobble either. There was a proper direction to the movement, like wind coming across the map from one side. That's the kind of detail you usually get from a pack somebody's been polishing for years, and it did that with zero feedback from me. I was a little shook, not gonna lie. The rest of the overworld held up too. Warm lighting, clean shadows, and the water looked solid from above. I moved on to the part where these packs usually fall apart, the caves. And even down there, Claude delivered. The torches had this nice glow around them, and the lava was genuinely lighting up the cave walls around it, instead of just sitting there as a flat orange square. The Nether was where I had my first real complaint. It was simply too dark down there. The lava still glowed, that part was fine, but everything around it kept sinking into black, and I constantly lost the shape of the terrain while flying. The whole dimension needed way more ambient light. Claude still had around 7 minutes left on the clock at that point, so I went back and told it to brighten up the Nether and push everything else even further while it was at it. In hindsight, I should have just left it alone, because the second version came back noticeably worse. Every single light source in the game had this constant flicker to it. Torches, lava, everything was pulsing, and once I noticed it, I couldn't focus on anything else. On top of that, Claude had cranked the God rays so hard that looking anywhere near the sun completely whited out my screen. That's not moody lighting, that's a flashbang. The frustrating part is that version 1 was genuinely good. I asked for more and got less, which, if you've ever modded Minecraft, is the most relatable thing in the world. You have something working, you touch one thing, and suddenly, nothing works. By then, Claude's timer was up anyway. So the summary for round 1 is, best first attempt I could have asked for, followed by the AI sabotaging its own work. If I could have kept version 1 and thrown version 2 away, I would have done it in a heartbeat. Round 2, ChatGPT. Same prompt, no hints, not a word about what Claude did. One difference in how it works though, ChatGPT never tells you how long it needs. It just goes quiet and then announces that it's done, which, to be fair, it did pretty quickly. The first version was honestly fine on the surface. Decent lighting, some nice color in the sky, shadows that behaved. My first thought was that this looked like a real, playable shader pack. That impression lasted right up until I touched the water. From above it looked okay, a bit flat maybe, but okay. Underwater though, the whole thing fell apart. The color was wrong, there was no depth to anything, and it felt like swimming through a flat texture. Claude's water was miles ahead, so that point clearly went to Claude. The caves were alright, and funny enough, ChatGPT's Nether was brighter than Claude's from the start, so there was a real base to work with here. Since it still had plenty of time on the clock, I sent back a proper list. Fix the water and make it look like actual water. Make the light sources really glow. Add more clouds. And because why not, throw in some glowing orbs too. And this is where ChatGPT did the one thing Claude never managed. It took feedback and actually got better. The updated water was properly fixed, not just slightly less broken. It had depth, the color was right, and diving in didn't hurt to look at anymore. The torch glow was there, the orbs were floating around looking great at night, and it even added the extra clouds, which I half expected it to ignore. I ran the same tour again. Overworld, caves, Nether, and every single stop looked better than the version before. Claude peaked early and went downhill. ChatGPT was climbing with every update. So for the last round, I got greedy. I asked for the full package. Volumetric clouds, stronger glow on everything, depth of field, and God rays. Yes, God rays, the exact feature that had just ruined Claude's second version. I fully expected this to blow up in my face the same way. Instead, the final version turned out to be the best thing either AI produced all day. The volumetric clouds looked exactly how I'd hoped, with light actually breaking through them. The god rays, of all things, came out restrained and clean. I could look straight at the sun and still see the world around me, and the glow on the light sources improved yet again. The only real miss was the depth of field. It kept blurring things that should have been sharp and just looked broken. Luckily, that was a simple toggle in the shader settings, so I switched it off, and everything else stayed exactly as good as it was. A trade I'll take any day. The final tour went great. Gorgeous overworld, the best looking cave lighting of the day, a nether with no complaints. And then I flew into the end for the very last stop. And the end was, without question, the funniest moment of this whole experiment, because it was daytime in there. An actual sun, normal weather, broad daylight, in the one dimension that's supposed to be a pitch black void with a purple sky. It looked so wrong that I just sat there laughing, like somebody left the overworld sky running and forgot to switch it off. Which sums up AI shaders pretty well, honestly. Most of it turned out better than it had any right to be, and then there was that one spot where the AI clearly didn't think at all. So, who won? Claude had the better first attempt, and that's not even up for debate. Waving leaves out of nowhere, great caves, great lava, all with zero feedback from me. If this had been a one-shot contest, Claude would have taken it easily. But it wasn't a one-shot contest. It was 30 minutes with as many updates as we could fit. And every time I asked Claude for more, I got flickering torches and a flashbang. Every time I asked ChatGPT for more, it fixed the water, added the glow, delivered the clouds, and ended up handing me the best-looking pack of the day. So if I had to actually play with one of these tomorrow, I'd take ChatGPT's final version. Daylight in the end and all. And I already know some of you are going to be furious about that. Next time, I want them to build an actual mod. Not a shader, a real mod. Same 30-minute rule. So drop a comment. Which two AIs should I throw at each other, and what should they build? Whatever I see the most down there is what we're doing next. And if you want to watch that go horribly wrong, you know where the subscribe button is.